The Joe Rogan Experience.
Andrew, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Joe. It's great to be here.
So you have quite an interesting background. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure, I'm a former kickboxing champion and now an entrepreneur. I run several businesses, including a successful webcam modeling platform. And I'm also known for my controversial views on a variety of topics.
Yes, I've seen some of the things you've said online that have stirred up some controversy. Can you elaborate on some of those views?
Absolutely. One thing I'm very passionate about is promoting personal responsibility and self-reliance. I believe that people should take ownership of their own lives and not rely on the government or other institutions to take care of them. I also believe in the importance of competition and meritocracy, and that people should be rewarded based on their skills and abilities rather than things like race or gender.
Those are definitely some controversial views, and I'm sure some people would take issue with them. How do you respond to critics who say that your views are harmful or discriminatory?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to have open and honest conversations about these issues, even if they are uncomfortable. And secondly, I would argue that my views are not discriminatory, but rather empowering. By encouraging people to take responsibility for their own lives and compete on the basis of merit, I believe we can create a more just and equitable society.
I can see where you're coming from, but I think some people might see it as a way of justifying existing power structures that are already stacked against certain groups. What do you say to that?
Understand that perspective, but I would argue that the current system of identity politics and victimhood is not the solution. Instead, we should focus on promoting individual excellence and celebrating success, regardless of someone's background. That's the only way we can truly achieve equality.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. I know you've been involved in the world of webcam modeling, which is another controversial topic. Can you tell us about your experiences in that industry?
I founded a webcam modeling platform called Tate, which is designed to empower models and give them more control over their careers. We provide a safe and supportive environment for models to work in, and we believe that everyone should have the right to express themselves however they choose.
Some people might say that the webcam modeling industry is exploitative or degrading to women. What do you say to that?
At Campsite, we have strict policies in place to protect our models, and we work closely with them to ensure they have a positive experience. Ultimately, it's up to each individual model to decide what they are comfortable with and what they want to do. My mission is to empower people to take control of their own lives and reach their full potential. I believe that we are all capable of achieving greatness if we have the right mindset and take the right actions through my businesses and my online presence.
So let's run it back and start at the beginning. What led to your time in prison, and how did that experience change you?
Well, I was involved in some illegal activities, specifically drug trafficking. I made some poor choices, and I got caught. As for how it changed me, I would say that gave me a new perspective on life. I had a lot of time to reflect on my past and think about what kind of person I want to be in the future.
What was the hardest part of being in prison for you?
There were a lot of difficult aspects, but I think the worst was the feeling of being completely powerless. You're at the mercy of the guards and the other inmates, and there's very little you can do to control your own circumstances. It can be incredibly frustrating and demoralizing.
Did you feel like you were in danger while you were in prison?
There were definitely moments when I felt unsafe, especially in the beginning, but I learned to keep my head down and stay out of trouble. And for the most part, I was able to avoid any serious incidents.
How did you pass the time while you were in prison? Did you read a workout or anything like that?
Yeah, I did a lot of reading. I also worked out a lot and got in really good shape. I think it was important for me to have some kind of routine and structure, even though I was in a very chaotic environment.
What was the first thing you did when you got out of prison?
Honestly, the first thing I did was just breathe in the fresh air and appreciate my freedom. It was such a relief to be outside and to know that I had a second chance at life.
Do you feel like your time in prison has changed you as a person? Are you a different person now than you were before?
Absolutely. I think going through that experience forced me to confront some of my own demons and really think about what kind of person I wanted to be. It made me appreciate the value of freedom and the importance of making good choices.
What's next for you, Andrew? What do you hope to achieve in the future?
Well, I have a lot of projects and business ideas that I'm excited about. But more than anything, I just want to continue growing and improving as a person. I want to use my experiences, both good and bad, to help others and make a positive impact on the world.
Andrew, let's talk about your supercars. I know that they were recently seized by authorities. What happened?
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy situation. Basically, the authorities seized a number of my cars as part of an investigation into some of my business dealings. It was definitely a shock, and it's been a bit of a struggle dealing with the fallout.
How many cars did they seize?
They took 7 of my cars in total. That was a pretty substantial loss.
That's a lot of cars. How did you feel when you found out they were being taken?
Honestly, I was devastated. These cars are not just vehicles to me. They're a reflection of my hard work and success. So to have them taken away like that was a huge blow.
Do you have any idea if you'll get the cars back?
It's hard to say at this point. The legal process is still ongoing, so we just have to wait and see what happens.
What kind of cars were they?
There were a few Lamborghinis, a few Ferraris, a few Porsche, a few Bugattis. It's a pretty impressive collection, if I do say so myself.
Have you been able to replace any of the cars that were taken?
Not yet, no. It's been a tough year financially, so I haven't been in a position to buy any new cars. But hopefully, I'll be able to get some of them back, or at least get.
Do you think that the authorities were justified in taking the cars?
Honestly, I don't think they were. I believe that the investigation was based on false information and that the seizure was an overreach of their power. But again, we just have to see how things play out in court.
How has this experience affected you, both financially and emotionally?
It's been tough, to be honest. Losing those cars was a huge financial hit, and it's definitely been a source of stress for me. And emotionally, it's been difficult too. Like I said earlier, those cars were a big part of my identities. So to have them taken away like that was really hard to deal with.
Well, I hope that things work out for you, Andrew. It sounds like you've been through a lot this year.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I'm trying to stay positive and keep moving forward. Hopefully, things will start looking up soon.
I have to ask you about your bald head. What's the deal with that?
Well, Joe, I used to have long hair, but I shaved it all off. It's more aerodynamic for kickboxing.
So you're saying that your head is like a bowling ball?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you ever get into a fight, do you use your head as a weapon?
Well, I haven't tried that yet, but I keep it in mind.
I could just imagine you headbutting your opponent in the face.
Yeah, that would definitely be a surprise move.
So, Andrew, tell me, do you think your bald head gives you a psychological advantage in the ring?
Well, Joe, I'm not sure about that, but I do know that it gives me an aerodynamic advantage.
Andrew Tate's bald head gives him an aerodynamic advantage in the ring. Well, Andrew, it's been a pleasure having you here today.
Thanks, Joe. It's been a blast.
And there you have it, folks. Andrew Tate, a kickboxing world champion with a bald head that gives him an aerodynamic advantage. Thanks for watching the Joe Rogan Experience.